From Venom to Gwen Stacy, the 10 comics that define Spider-Man. And Spider-Man, he's the friendly neighborhood hero, right? The wisecracking good guy who always bounces back. But what happens when the hits are so brutal? They change him for good. We're not talking about just a bad day. We're talking about the soul-crushing, character-defining moments that dragged Peter Parker into the shadows. These are the stories that tested his limits, scarred him for life, and proved that even the brightest heroes have a breaking point. Because true heroism isn't about never falling. It's about getting back up when the darkness feels absolute. Today, we're counting down the 10 darkest Spider-Man comics that pushed our hero to the brink. Number 10. Spider-Man No More. Kicking off our list is a story that might seem tame by today's standards, but it is absolutely essential for understanding the psychological pressure cooker that is Peter Parker's life. We're talking about the amazing Spider-Man number 50, Spider-Man No More. This 1967 classic from Stan Lee and John Romita Sr. is all about a crisis of faith, where Peter, completely beaten down by his double life, just quits. Think about it from his perspective. Public opinion is in the gutter, thanks to J. Jonah Jameson's nonstop smear campaign. The people he saves are often scared of him. His Aunt May is always sick, and he feels like he's failing her. His grades are slipping, his friendships are strained, and for what? There's no paycheck, no thanks, just constant struggle. And that brings us to the dark moment, immortalized in one of the most iconic panels in comic history. Peter, walking through a rainy alley, dumps his Spider-Man suit in a garbage can and walks away. He's done. For a brief moment, he feels free. He can just be Peter Parker. This wasn't a villain's plot. This was Peter giving in to his own despair. But his absence is felt almost immediately. A new crime boss, the Kingpin, makes his grand entrance, ready to take over a city without its protector. As Peter tries to live a normal life, he sees a security guard in danger and is hit with a flashback to the night Uncle Ben died. He remembers the burglar he let go and the devastating lesson he learned, that with great power comes great responsibility. He realizes that being Spider-Man isn't a choice he can just walk away from. It's a moral obligation baked into his very soul. Spider-Man No More redefined the character by proving that his heroism isn't a job, it's a penance and a promise. Number 9. Ultimate End brought Miles to Earth 616, coming in at number 9. We're not just talking about a dark moment for Peter Parker, but the death of an entire universe and the birth of a new legacy. This is Ultimate End, the 2015 miniseries that served as the final, somber chapter for Marvel's Ultimate Universe, Earth 1610. The backdrop here is the massive Secret Wars event, where the entire multiverse is collapsing. The Ultimate Universe and the main Marvel Universe, Earth 616, are the last two realities standing, and they get smashed together over Manhattan. It's chaos. Heroes from both worlds are just trying to survive the end of everything they've ever known. By this point, the ultimate Peter Parker had already died, passing the mantle to a kid named Miles Morales. The truly dark part of Ultimate End is the overwhelming sense of hopelessness. For over a decade, the Ultimate Universe had offered a fresh, modern take on Marvel's heroes. It was the birthplace of Miles Morales. And now, we had to watch that entire reality just end. It's a story drenched in cosmic dread, where heroes fight heroes, and in the end, it's all for nothing as their world is wiped from existence. But from that dark ending came a new beginning. While his universe died, Miles Morales survived. In a wild turn of events, a cosmic being called the Molecule Man, grateful to Miles for a small act of kindness, essentially copy-pastes him and his family into the main Marvel Universe. His history is seamlessly woven into the new reality, as if he'd always been there. So, the death of one universe redefined the Spider-Man legacy forever by making it bigger than just one person. It officially established that the mantle could be shared, adding incredible richness and diversity to the Spider-Man story. Number 8. Secret Wars and the Symbiote Suit. At number 8, we get the story that introduced a literal darkness that would cling to Peter Parker for years, changing his powers, his personality, and his list of enemies forever. This is the moment Spider-Man first got the alien symbiote suit, which showed up in the Amazing Spider-Man number 252, with its origin told in Secret Wars number 8. The setting is the original Secret Wars, where a godlike being called the Beyonder yoinks Marvel's biggest heroes and villains to a planet called Battleworld and tells them to fight. During one of the battles, Spidey's suit gets shredded. Thor tells him about a machine that can fix clothes with alien tech. Peter finds what he thinks is the machine and activates it, releasing a little black ball of goo. When he touches it, the substance flows over his body, creating a sleek, new black and white costume. The dark moment here isn't a tragedy, it's a seduction. Peter is blown away. The new suit can morph into any clothing, generates its own webbing, and responds to his thoughts. He thinks he's hit the jackpot. What he doesn't realize is that he's just bonded with a living, parasitic alien. The darkness isn't just a color scheme. It's a creature, and it's attached to his soul. The legacy of this is staggering. Back on Earth, the suit starts influencing him. He gets more aggressive and irritable. He finds out the suit has been taking his body for joyrides while he sleeps, fighting crime with a brutality Peter would never use. With help from Reed Richards, Peter discovers the truth and has to fight to get the thing off him, finally using the sonic blasts from a church bell to tear it away. Of course, the jilted symbiote, now full of hate for Peter, finds a new host in Eddie Brock, a disgraced journalist who also blames Spider-Man for his problems. Together, they become Venom, one of the most terrifying and iconic villains in comic history. The black suit didn't just give Spider-Man a new look. It created his most personal new foe and became a permanent cautionary tale about power that seems too good to be true. Number 7. The Green Goblin's identity revealed. Our number 7 spot goes to a reveal that turned a classic hero-villain rivalry into a deeply personal psychological war. This is from the Amazing Spider-Man number 39. The moment Peter Parker finds out that his arch-nemesis, the Green Goblin, is none other than Norman Osborn, his best friend's dad. Before this, the Green Goblin was a huge pain for Spider-Man, but his real identity was a total mystery. Meanwhile, Norman Osborn was just a part of Peter's civilian life, the rich, stern father of his best friend and college roommate, Harry. Peter thought he could keep his two worlds separate. He was wrong. The dark moment comes when the Goblin, having figured out Spider-Man's identity, decides to stop playing games. He stalks Peter Parker, gasses him, and captures him. When Peter wakes up, he's tied up, and the Goblin dramatically unmasks, revealing the face of Norman Osborn. In that instant, Peter's world shatters. His greatest enemy isn't some random monster. He's part of his personal life, the father of his best friend. The fight that follows is loaded with the weight of betrayal and the horrifying question of what this means for his friendship with Harry. The impact was monumental. It redefined the Spider-Man and Green Goblin feud, making it the most intimate and painful rivalry in his life. Every battle after this wasn't just about stopping a bad guy. It was about fighting his best friend's father. This one reveal set the stage for decades of stories centered on the Osborn family's tragic legacy, from Harry eventually becoming the Goblin himself to the death of Gwen Stacy. It cemented the Green Goblin as Spider-Man's true arch-nemesis and proved that for Peter Parker, the fight is always personal. Number 6. Superior Spider-Man. At number 6 is one of the boldest, most controversial, and genuinely dark storylines in modern comics. Superior Spider-Man. This wasn't just a story where Peter lost a fight. This was a story where he lost everything: his body, his life, his identity, to one of his oldest foes, Dr. Octopus. It all starts in Dying Wish. A terminally ill Doc Ock pulls off his most brilliant and horrifying plan. He swaps his mind with Peter Parker. Peter wakes up trapped in Otto's decaying, dying body, while Otto is now in the young, superpowered body of Spider-Man. Peter, in a last-ditch effort, fails to reverse the swap. The dark moment is Peter Parker's death. Trapped in Ock's body, Peter uses his last moments to force Otto to relive all of his memories, every joy, every loss, and the lesson of Uncle Ben. As Peter dies, he begs his nemesis to carry on his legacy. Otto, shaken by Peter's life, vows not just to be Spider-Man, but to be a superior Spider-Man. And just like that, Peter Parker is gone, his body now piloted by a narcissistic supervillain. The era that followed was fascinating. The superior Spider-Man was brutally efficient. He had no problem maiming or even killing criminals. He alienated all of Peter's friends and family with his arrogance. And all the while, Peter's consciousness was still there, a powerless ghost trapped in his own head, watching his life and reputation get torn apart. This storyline brilliantly deconstructed what it means to be Spider-Man. It showed that it's not about power or efficiency. It's about heart and restraint. The run ends when Otto realizes he can't defeat a returned Green Goblin, and that only the real Peter Parker is worthy. He willingly erases his own mind to let Peter come back. Superior Spider-Man was a long, twisted violation of Peter's very being that ended by proving just how irreplaceable he truly is. All right, we're at the halfway point, and believe me, it only gets darker from here. If you're digging this look into the tragic side of the web-slinger, do us a quick favor and hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel out, and you won't want to miss what's coming up. Now, back to the list. Number 5. The Death of Ultimate Spider-Man. For our number 5 spot, we re-back in the Ultimate Universe for the story that did the unthinkable. It killed Peter Parker. For real, the Death of Spider-Man from 2011 was a brutal, heartbreaking, and heroic end for the character that had introduced Spider-Man to a whole new generation. In the Ultimate Universe, death was usually permanent, which gave every threat real stakes. Leading up to his final battle, this high school-aged Peter was already at his limit. During a massive hero-on-hero war, he takes a bullet for Captain America. While wounded, he finds out his nemesis, the monstrous Green Goblin, has escaped with the Sinister Six, and they're all heading straight to his house to kill Aunt May. The dark moment is Peter's final, desperate battle on his own front lawn. Already bleeding out, he fights through the entire Sinister Six to protect his family. He takes them all down, but he's battered and barely standing when the Goblin arrives. The fight that follows isn't witty or fun. It's a savage, ugly brawl that ends with Peter lifting a truck and smashing it down on Osborn, causing an explosion that mortally wounds them both. As he lies dying in Mary Jane's arms, he looks at Aunt May and says that while he couldn't save Uncle Ben, he saved her. And then he dies. The legacy of this death was profound. It was a true hero's sacrifice, the ultimate fulfillment of his promise. His death inspires another young kid with spider powers, Miles Morales, to step up and take his place. This story was a beautiful and tragic end for this version of Peter, defining his entire life by his final selfless act. While a later twist would reveal he technically survived, the emotional impact of his death and the passing of the torch to Miles remains one of the most powerful moments in Spider-Man history. Number 4. The identity reveal in Civil War. At number 4 is a decision made with the best intentions that led to absolute catastrophe. We're talking about the moment Peter Parker publicly unmasked himself during the 2006 Civil War event. The backdrop is a massive split in the hero community. After a tragedy, the government passes the Superhuman Registration Act, forcing anyone with powers to unmask and register. Tony Stark leads the pro-registration side, while Captain America leads the resistance. Peter, who has guarded his identity more fiercely than anyone, is caught in the middle. Tony, his mentor at the time, convinces him that unmasking is the right thing to do to show the world that heroes have nothing to hide. The dark moment was broadcast live across the globe. Peter Parker stands at a press conference, takes a deep breath, and says, "My name is Peter Parker, and I've been Spider-Man since I was 15 years old." Then he takes off his mask. In 1 second, his most protected secret is gone. Every villain he's ever fought now knows his face, his name, and more importantly, they know about Aunt May and Mary Jane. The fallout was immediate and disastrous. The Kingpin puts a hit out on Peter and his family. A sniper fires at Peter, but the bullet misses and hits Aunt May, leaving her in a coma and near death. Peter is plunged into a pit of guilt and rage, unlike anything he'd felt since Gwen Stacy died. This one, catastrophic error in judgment, turned his life into a war zone and directly led to the suffering of the person he loved most. It also set the stage for the single most controversial story in his history, which we'll get to in a bit. Number 3, One More Day. All right, brace yourselves. At number 3, we have what is arguably the most despised and character-altering story in Spider-Man's entire history, the 2007 storyline, One More Day. This story didn't just hurt Peter. It erased decades of character development in what many fans still see as an act of creative sabotage. The setup flows directly from Civil War. Aunt May is dying from that sniper's bullet, and it's all Peter's fault. He is consumed by guilt and desperation. He goes to Dr. Strange, Dr. Doom, Reed Richards, the smartest and most powerful people on the planet, and they all tell him the same thing. She can't be saved. He's broken, with no hope left. And that's when the devil shows up. Mephisto, the literal devil of the Marvel Universe, offers Peter a deal. He'll save Aunt May. The price, not his soul. The price is his marriage. Mephisto will erase Peter and Mary Jane's love and their entire history together from reality. After agonizing over the impossible choice, Peter and MJ agree, sharing one last kiss as reality is rewritten. As a final, cruel twist, Mephisto reveals the deal also erases the future daughter they would have had. The legacy of One More Day is a scar on Spider-Man's history. The story came from a controversial editorial decision to make Spider-Man single again, believing he was more relatable that way. But the execution, having a hero make a deal with the devil to undo the consequences of his own actions, felt like a complete betrayal of his character. He sacrificed his greatest source of strength and happiness to save an elderly woman whose life was nearing its natural end anyway. It erased years of growth and maturity, trapping Peter in a state of arrested development that in some ways he's never recovered from. It's a dark story not because of a heroic sacrifice, but because it was a narrative and moral surrender. Number 2, The Death of Gwen Stacy. At number 2 is the story that marks the end of the Silver Age of comics and the moment readers learned that the good guys don't always win. This is the story that taught a generation about permanent loss and cemented tragedy as a core part of Spider-Man's world. This is the night Gwen Stacy died. The story finds Norman Osborn having regained his Green Goblin memories, including Peter's secret identity. His life is falling apart, and he blames Peter for everything. He decides to hit Peter where it hurts most, by going after the love of his life, Gwen Stacy. At the time, Gwen was Peter's first true love, the anchor of his entire world. The dark moment is one of the most shocking sequences in comics. The Goblin kidnaps Gwen and takes her to the top of the Brooklyn Bridge. In the middle of their fight, the Goblin hurls her unconscious body off the bridge. Spidey, acting on pure instinct, shoots a web line and catches her by the legs. He pulls her up, shouting that he saved her. But as he holds her, he realizes she's dead. The comic leaves it ambiguous, but a tiny, horrifying snap sound effect next to her head in the panel implies the whiplash from the web line is what killed her. In Peter's mind, it doesn't matter. he failed. The legacy of this moment cannot be overstated. Before this, a hero's girlfriend just didn't die. This story shattered that rule, ushering in a darker, more mature era of storytelling. It fundamentally redefined Spider-Man, injecting a profound sense of failure and grief that has haunted him ever since. His rage leads him to nearly break his one rule and kill the Goblin, who ends up dying on his own glider anyway. Gwen's death cemented the cruel reality of Peter Parker's life, that his power is a magnet for tragedy. And sometimes, even when he does everything right, he can still lose. Number 1. The Death of Uncle Ben. And finally, at number 1, we have the story that is not just the darkest, but the most important. It's the foundational trauma, the original sin, and the single event that created Spider-Man. This is the death of Ben Parker in Amazing Fantasy number 15. You know the origin. Nerdy high school kid Peter Parker gets bitten by a radioactive spider and gains incredible powers. His first instinct isn't to help people, but to get famous. He becomes a TV star, soaking in the adoration, and becomes arrogant and selfish. The dark moment, the moment of catastrophic failure, happens after a TV appearance. A burglar runs past Peter, and a security guard yells for him to stop the guy. Peter, in his hubris, does nothing. It's not his problem. A few days later, he comes home to find police cars outside. An officer tells him his beloved Uncle Ben has been shot and killed by a burglar. Blinded by rage, Peter puts on his costume, tracks the killer to a warehouse, and confronts him. When he gets a look at the man's face, he's horrified. It's the same exact burglar he let get away days earlier. The legacy of this moment is Spider-Man. Peter is crushed by the unbearable weight of his inaction. The man who raised him is dead because he was too selfish to do one simple thing. It is in this moment of soul-crushing guilt that the lesson is burned into his heart forever. With great power, there must also come great responsibility. Uncle Ben's death is the dark heart from which all of Spider-Man's heroism flows. It's the defining failure he spends the rest of his life trying to atone for. Every person he saves, every punch he throws, every sacrifice he makes is a response to this one unforgivable lapse. It's not just a dark moment in his past. It's the perpetual darkness that fuels his light. It redefined an arrogant kid into a selfless hero, not through a great victory, but through a devastating and permanent loss. It's the tragedy that makes him, and will always make him, Spider-Man. Conclusion. So there you have it, the 10 darkest stories that broke Peter Parker, and in doing so, made him one of the greatest heroes ever written. From the guilt of Uncle Ben's death to the deal that erased his greatest love. These stories show that Spider-Man's defining trait isn't his strength or his jokes, but his ability to endure absolute darkness and still choose to be a hero. They prove that responsibility is a heavy, painful burden, and that true power is the will to get back up, again and again. These aren't just sad stories. They're the chapters that give his heroism its meaning. What did you think of our list? Is there a dark Spider-Man moment you think we missed? Let us know down in the comments. We read all of them. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more breakdowns of your favorite comic book characters. Thanks for watching.